The Void. Series 1, Episode 4, The Fillim Perspective, by Richard Marcus Powell. Chapter 1. The Deon system lay towards the rim of Republic space. It was located in a region some distance from the Jujin-Kai border, but never really explored in depth. It was a little off the beaten path when it came to the gateway network. It was considered a null system because it had a single gateway and was in effect a dead end. The Liberator sat in orbit around Deon Alpha, bathed in the rays from the yellow dwarf star. Carter stared out of the viewing gallery at the planet, marveling at it. There was more than a passing resemblance to Earth about it. It had continents, water, and ice, albeit in different ratios than he was used to. There was much more land on Deon Alpha, being roughly 40% of its surface. The oceans were distributed randomly across the planet, and it looked like the planet was in the midst of an ice age. For all he knew, that was normal for this planet, but it looked like an ice age. He'd been sat watching it for a full metric hour, beguiled by the familiar appearance. His media pad alarm went off, alerting him to the impending nature of his schedule. He had a briefing to get to. Leaving the viewing gallery, he found the nearest Parkwam docking station and stepped into it. The exoskeleton he wore whirred quietly as he shifted position. He was starting to move a little more freely now, though the pain was still there. "Kane, visitor conference center, please." "On our way, Mr. Vincent. I hope you found the spectacle most edifying." "I did, Kane. Reminds me of how Earth used to be." Carter found the Parkwam remarkable. He used it without being aware of its true nature, thinking of it as nothing more than a standard lift. It came as a shock to him when he realized it could move in all 3 dimensions. The name puzzled him as well, enough that it prompted him to question Kane about it, who revealed the source to be a Latin word, quoquam. This meant any place, which seemed appropriate. Somewhere down the line, the quo had been corrupted into par, which was thought to come from the Latin for equal, but academics were split on this. Upon arriving at the conference center, Carter alighted and made his way to the appointed room. He found himself entering the room the same time as someone else, someone he didn't recognize. He could see the captain, though, sat patiently at the head of the table. Carter hadn't actually met him yet, but he could easily recognize him. The senior officers were frequently on the ship media streams, so they were identifiable. There was a Fillim sat next to him. Well, sat was a term that was loosely defined. The Fillim's 3 legs were tucked in close to its body. This was done to save space, but it did seem like their way of sitting. There were a few Fillim on board, but Carter could not identify which one this was. If he were perfectly honest, they all looked the same to him. He recalled criticizing his father-in-law for expressing such sentiments. Now he was the Stone Age bigot. A few more people entered, one of which Carter recognized as Dr. Denom Richt. "Hello, Doctor. How are you?" "I'm perfectly fine, Mr. Vincent," Denom responded in his dry tone. "How are you settling in?" "Lots of training to do, lots of research to catch up on, lots of bureaucracy to fill out," Carter announced. "They're certainly keeping me busy." "Is this your first assignment?" "More of a training exercise for me," Carter added. "Well, this should be a good learning experience for you." "I hope so. Plus, it'll be good to set foot on a planet again," Carter exclaimed. "On an actual alien planet. I know this is probably old hat to you, but I'm rather excited about all this." "It never gets old for me, Mr. Vincent," Denon replied. "There's always something new and fascinating, no matter where you go in the universe." A few more people entered, Commander Voight being one of them, and the room started to settle down as everyone took up positions. "Good morning, all," Schaefer started. "Good to see so many eager faces in here today." There was a small, polite murmur that traveled around the room. "I'll try and keep this brief as you all know your roles today. I know this is a routine survey, but let's keep it to our usual high standard. This could be a future colony for millions of citizens, so we need to be as accurate as possible in our assessments. Doctor," Denon received the focus of the attention. "The Senate want Deon Alpha surveyed for future colonization, and both Dr. Lux Pang and myself will be coordinating that survey. However, due to the fact that there is an existing ecosystem on the planet, we need to be careful not to upset the natural balance," Denon recited. "To that end, Dr. Nevon, who watches with patience of the Makeen Ecosystem, will be overseeing our work to assess the impact our presence may have and what could possibly be done to mitigate it.
Carter looked around, trying to see if he could see this new xeno species that Denom had mentioned. Aside from the Fillim, everyone else was human, as far as he could tell.
Noticing this, Denon responded. Dr. Nevon, who watches with patients, will be joining us in the Alpha hangar, Denon reminded. We have several objectives here. Take environmental readings, catalog flora and fauna, and set up remote monitoring processes. This should give us a snapshot of the ecosystem as it currently stands, but also allow us to monitor any changes or new information whilst a strategy is being devised by the Senate. Dr. Lux Pang started speaking in that unique whistle of the Fillim. Due to the complex nature of the language, it took a few seconds for the translation to come through the Babel implant. It has been decided that the human self-footprint leave too deep an impression on the ecosystem that the colonization will be deferred. Obviously, this will be unfortunate for human selves, but the ecosystem does take priority. Historically, the Triskel Corporation has damaged an untold number of worlds, which is why the Republic is committed to working in partnership with the Fillim and Makeen to work towards a more environmentally sound future, Denom elaborated. You all have your allotted teams and destinations so that we can cover as many biomes as possible. If you have any questions, please consult your team leaders. Team leaders, if you have any questions, please consult either myself, Dr. Lux Pang, or Dr. Navon, who watches with patients. One other thing, Commander Voigt added. Our new cultural advisor, Carter Vincent, will be joining us for this mission. He will be there to observe and gain some experience with cross-cultural fieldwork. Finally, I'm sure you all know, but the atmospheric mix of Deon Alpha is close to human parameters, but it will still require the use of regulators. There were a few subdued complaints made around the room. What's a regulator? Carter asked, afraid of looking like the dumbest person in the room. Denom tossed a small plastic-wrapped package onto the table in front of Carter. Open it, Mr. Vincent, Denom instructed. Carter unwrapped the item. It looked like a small frame with a gelatinous, almost mucus-like membrane suspended in the middle. I don't understand. It's a breathing apparatus. You place it at the back of your throat and it regulates the air that you breathe. They do have to be configured beforehand depending on the planet's specific atmosphere, but they help add or remove oxygen or scrub it to a level we are comfortable with. They are useful, but they only work in atmospheres close to what we are used to. If it was further away, we would need environmental suits. I put this in my throat. It will seem uncomfortable the first time, but you do get used to them. What if I swallow it? They're designed to break down in the stomach and collapse under the slightest pressure to prevent choking. They're perfectly safe, just a little unpleasant. Carter regarded it with disdain. It looked deeply unpleasant. Obviously, you can't eat with that in place, but you can drink. I'm going to need a drink to put it in, Carter joked. The comment elicited a few amused chuckles from the room. Don't forget to wear your gloves either, Denon reminded. Our suits will prevent any bacteria contaminating the planet, but we do need to cover our hands as well. Now, any further questions? The room fell silent. Okay then, let's get out there and do your best.